Greetings everyone, I am Glitch and welcome to another video. Today I am going to break down Harry Potter vs. Luke Skywalker. I've seen this video a number of times and I listen to this while I'm at work, so I thought it'd be fun if I break this down and share my knowledge within both franchises. I know more Star Wars than I do Harry Potter, frankly, and just a disclaimer, I may stutter more throughout this video than I normally do. I write a script in advance before I do a reaction, and I may stutter more in this video than I have in other videos when I'm breaking stuff down. So I apologize in advance for that. For now, let's get into today's video.
Harry Potter! Skywalker!
Accio Mike, let me fire up the wand like Hermione and Ron. I'm about to get it on.
So it says, Accio Mike, let me fire up the wand. And Accio is the summoning spell to bring objects to you. Like Hermione and Ron, I'm about to get it on. Hermione and Ron started dating later on throughout the franchise, if I remember correctly.
Cause my mouth spits hot like incendio flames. You lukewarm like some tauntaun remains.
My mouth spits hot like incendio flames. Incendio is a spell that casts fire. So he's saying that my mouth spits hot bars. Which is a good double. Incendio, the fire spell, hot bars. You're lukewarm like tauntaun remains.
Even the
That is a reference to episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, which came out in 1983. Where Luke is caught in a blizzard and Han Solo went to go find him. Han eventually finds him in the blizzard about to pass out. And he was quite delusional. Han had to use Luke's lightsaber to cut open a tauntaun that died from the severe cold. And Han put Luke inside the tauntaun to keep him warm. So lukewarm is a good play on Luke's name, because lukewarm means not really hot and not really cold. It's more like room temperature.
mad eye of my man, Alistair Moody could see a franchise only has 2 decent movies.
I can count at least 2 decent movies that I've seen within the Star Wars franchise. The movies I say that were actually pretty good was Empire Strikes Back, that is my #1 pick, and of course Rogue One. Rogue One was a really good movie, one of the only movies that Disney has made within the Star Wars franchise. Solo, I don't know what they did with it. That movie made me completely upset, as well as a lot of the sequel trilogy. I did not enjoy them quite a bit. So the 2 decent movies, definitely in my opinion, Rogue One and Empire Strikes Back.
You search your feelings, can you sense deja vu? You're getting smoked like your Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru.
Search your feelings, that is a line that is said in Empire Strikes Back by Darth Vader when Vader tells Luke that he is his father. Luke had a hard time believing it. And then Vader says, search your feelings and you know it be true. And Luke believed him right then and there. Getting smoked like your Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. They ended up getting burned badly. I believe it was incendiary rounds from a disruptor rifle. And I believe it was Boba Fett that actually did it, if I remember correctly, because there's a line within episode 5 that does point to this, where Vader says to all the bounty hunters that by any means necessary bring Han Solo to Vader, and he points at Boba and says no disintegrations. So I do believe Boba Fett has something to do with that.
Your acting is flat and your raps are 2D2.
Your acting is flat. Luke's acting was not as good in the sequel trilogy. I mean, we see him for like a minute in The Force Awakens, and then we see him throughout the movie of The Last Jedi, and his character then was not good. It was really bad writing. And so your raps are 2D2, 2D as in 2-dimensional plane, and R2D2 referencing in Luke's astromech droid that was originally, I like to say that is the Queen of Naboo's droid at first, because we see R2 on her royal ship, and then he got into Anakin's possession later on throughout the Clone Wars, and then we'll see him with Anakin, and then he was with Luke. So he pretty much stayed within the Skywalker family.
Fuck her off to the afterlife where you're fat and see-through. You're the biggest letdown in your series since Snoke.
So Snoke was a really bad character. I mean, throughout the sequel, you expect to see a big, bad villain, and Snoke was a letdown, especially in The Last Jedi when he was cut down. I mean, it was a pretty interesting way on how he died, but he was a huge letdown. And it also turned out that he was created by Palpatine as a mutated clone, but he was not a good character in my opinion. They could have done so much better.
It makes sense your father's Vader. All you do is choke.
So Vader does like to choke people a lot. In episode 4, he choked an officer during a meeting when I believe it was a question about Vader's ability throughout the Force. And Vader starts to choke the guy and he says, "I find your lack of faith disturbing." And then he lets him go. In episode 5, he choked 2 people, if I remember my counting right. One was the admiral that came out of hyperspace too quickly, that alerted the rebels to their presence. And then another one is in the asteroid field where a officer took the blame for everything and Vader choked him to death. I believe that is the only 3 times that we've seen him choke people.
You country bumpkin, you must be dumb. Who farms moisture on a desert planet with 2 suns?
The whole point of that is to collect water, because through supply and demand, water is a very precious resource, especially within Jabba's territory, because you see a lot of moisture farms down there. And technically, you need to do it. A desert planet does not have that much water, and the only places where you can get it is from moisture. So that is a very good way to get water. And Country Bumpkin, well, I believe he was on the outskirts of Mos Eisley or Anchorhead, whichever the two. I can't remember which one is closer.
Let me stick my plans in your dusty bin droid. I'll leave you like a Horcrux, split up and destroy.
The Horcrux is how Voldemort stayed immortal. He split his soul into, I believe, 6 different places? Was what? The Goblet, his book, Harry. I can only remember Earth 3. It's been quite a while, but I do believe it was 6. And they were all split up. Harry had to find them and destroy them. By destroying them, it made Voldemort more vulnerable. He destroyed the first one, which was Tom Riddle's book with the Fang of the Snake and the Chamber of Secrets.
I don't know who made you shoot first, but that missed.
Made you shoot first, but miss. That is a reference to Han Solo and Greedo's showdown within the Mos Eisley Cantina. There was a huge debate on whether or not Han shot first or Greedo shot first. I do believe it was kind of close. I kind of leaned towards Greedo for a while, because from the way it looked like is that Greedo shot and then Han moved his head and then he pulled the trigger. That's what it looked like to me, but it's possible that Han shot first in that one.
If I was you, I'd have a bad feeling about this.
That is a line that is in every single Star Wars cinematic, believe it or not. You'll see it in the Clone Wars. You would see it pretty much anywhere. So that is a very common line.
Ooh, I'm a rhyming Jedi like my father before.
So Luke's father was Anakin Skywalker, a Jedi general during the Clone Wars. And this is pretty much a double, because Darth Vader was in a couple of ERBs before this one. He was in a trilogy with Hitler that spanned for like 3 seasons. I think the first one came out in season 1, and then 2, and then season 3. I do not know if I'm going to do a reaction to those, because some of the content that is in it, there's a lot of references that a lot of people would not like. But Hey, if you guys want me to break that down a little bit, I can try. It's the Star Wars part that I am most familiar with, not the whole World War II thing, even though Star Wars is based a lot from World War II.
Your talking hats should have put you in Gryffindor.
So he's basically calling Harry a nerd. It's kind of a weak diss. I mean, if you look at someone with glasses with the stereotypical nerd look, then yeah, he would look kind of dorky.
Your origin story is mostly stolen from me. You might be Potter, but Harry, I planted your seed.
I never really thought about that at first, but when I first saw this and I thought about it, I was like, oh yeah, this is very, very similar to Star Wars, because Star Wars was not released until May 25th of 1977, and Harry Potter did not release as a movie or even written until like the 90s. So basically it was just a copy of the entire Star Wars series, just flipped into the magical world of Harry Potter.
Let's see, little orphan raised by relatives in solitude.
There's one, and Luke was orphaned from childbirth. Harry was orphaned after the death of his parents when he was just a little infant, basically.
Suddenly gets taken under wing of funky wizard dude.
Obi-Wan did start to train Luke a little bit, and once Harry got to Hogwarts, of course, Dumbledore will be his mentor, technically.
Learns that he's been destined to have powerful gifts.
Luke did have powerful gifts. I mean, there's a couple of abilities that he was able to do that most Jedi could not. I mean, a lot of Jedi could do things that other Jedi cannot. Like Bastila Shan, for example. She had battle meditation, and a lot of Jedi would not even practice that. Some Jedi can temper with the minds of beasts to calm them. Anakin Skywalker could do that. Cal Kestis, he could touch an object and he could see into the past, same as Quillen Voss. Those two can do the same ability, but most people do not have the same ability as the other because they choose not to practice it. And Harry, he was a powerful wizard. Or probably, if I remember correctly, Voldemort and Harry were linked because of a piece of Voldemort's soul being inside Harry. So Harry was pretty powerful from that.
But between the two of us, I think I got the cooler stick.
Which would you rather have? Would you rather have magic, or would you rather have a lightsaber? I mean, a lightsaber is basically just a beam of plasma that is powered by a power cell emitting into a kyber crystal that focuses all that energy into a blade. I mean, like a wand, the kyber crystal has a connection to the owner. So I would much rather have a lightsaber than a wand any day, in my honest opinion. I mean, I actually have a couple of lightsabers, and there's a couple sitting over on my windowsill. So pretty much already have them.
My mic saber cuts through you so slicey.
This is actually my favorite rhyme scheme of it.
Leave you on the floor like an arm at Mos Eisley.
So the arm at Mos Eisley, that is a reference to episode 4, A New Hope, where Luke was at a bar in the Mos Eisley Cantina. A couple of criminals came. I cannot remember that doctor's name, but I know he was a doctor. And he started pestering Luke. And Ben caught on to that after a bit, and he tried to de-escalate the situation. That did not work out so well. And one of the criminals ended up drawing his blaster, and Obi-Wan cut his arm off. And a little bit of controversy over it is because a lightsaber is basically just heated plasma, right? And in the original movie, you could see that there is blood flowing from the arm. That would not actually be there because the wound would be castrated. If you look in the prequels, when Obi-Wan gets hit by Count Dooku's lightsaber, you can see that the wound is just burned. There's no blood whatsoever because the lightsaber already heated up all the arteries. They're sealed up, no blood flow. So, yeah.
Hit you with the wampa raps, I get icy.
Luke was captured by a Wampa when he was out on patrol, where he sees a probe droid hit. He did not think it was a probe droid at first. He thought it was just an asteroid, so he was going to check it out. And then his Tauntaun ended up freaking out. And once he finally calmed it down and looked over his shoulder, there was a Wampa. He got hit. He was taken into the Wampa's cave.
Land him in your face like
That'll do nicely.
I fly the X-Wing to save a planet from massacre. You fly a broom like some kind of magical janitor.
So Luke ended up completing a trench run on the very first Death Star, and it was just about to fire upon Yavin 4, but before it actually opened fire, the station blew up. Why? Because Luke shot a proton torpedo in the reactor shaft, and that ended up hitting the reactor. And Luke's saying some kind of magical janitor. A janitor does use a broom. I'm a sanitation worker, so I use a broom every once in a while when I need to clean up stuff. So magical janitor, that is a pretty good diss.
Your double dweeb army likes to think that you're the best. All you did was use your mom like a bulletproof vest.
So in the Order of the Phoenix, Luke gathered a bunch of students who wanted to help Dumbledore, and he called them Dumbledore's army. And he did end up getting caught by, can't remember her name, but it was the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher at the time. And they ended up getting caught, and Dumbledore took the hit for it, even though Harry tried to accept the blame. And Dumbledore did catch him when he said, "But Harry," the note said, "Dumbledore's army." And a lot of people would like to think that Harry was the best, is because they looked up to Harry. And use your mom like a bulletproof vest. Harry's mom sacrificed herself to protect Harry. So she stood in the way of the killing spell, but some of it, I would like to believe, hit Harry as well. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I watched the Harry Potter's movies, so I'm going to have to rewatch them and refresh my knowledge of it. But yeah, Harry's mom did take the hit for him.
The death of my mother saved the wizarding race. Your mum died of heartache when she saw your face.
I had a little bit of a problem with this one because it's kind of half true. The whole reason why Padme Amidala died is because she could not live without her husband. So in episode 3, Anakin started getting a bunch of visions of Padme dying of childbirth. Even in modern times, that sort of thing is rare. There has to be certain complications in order for a mother to die from childbirth, or if like something is not supposed to be there, or whatnot. In Padme's case, she was just losing the will to live because she could not live without Anakin. And it wasn't entirely on Luke. It was mostly because she loved her husband so much that she could not live without him. Literally.
You swamp school dropout, you're too whiny to rhyme. At least when I slither in a sister, she isn't mine.
I'll get to the second part in a minute because that's another thing that I had a problem with. But Swamp School dropout. Luke went to the planet of Dagobah to train under Yoda. And at one point during his training, he was meditating while in a handstand. And he ended up seeing into the future that Leia and Han were in trouble. And he ended up choosing to leave to go and help them. So, yeah, he technically did drop out. But the second part of this, at least when I slither in a sister, she isn't mine, I took that in a different context, but I get what he was saying. Because in the original script for Return of the Jedi, Leia wasn't supposed to be his sister, so it would have been completely fine. But that script was changed to make it that Leia was his sister. And everybody was just a little bit creeped out that George Lucas would do something like that. But it did kind of saved the movie a little bit, even though it could have been a little bit better if they stuck with the original script, because the original script was supposed to be Luke's sister. He was supposed to have a sister, but she was actually a Jedi that came to save Luke, from what I heard. Or that's what I heard the original script was supposed to be. But Harry ended up dating Ron's sister, Jenny, if I remember correctly. And it's not his sister. It's his best friend's sister. That's the only his sister that he's slithering in. And slither in, I think we all get the pun on this one.
I'm the boy who lived, bestseller without equal. I'll split you like your fan base's feelings about the prequel.
The boy who lived, that is what a lot of people would call Harry. And yeah, people were split about the prequels in Star Wars. I enjoyed the prequels. I did not get into Star Wars until like 2004 or so. And I actually jumped around in order. I can't remember the order of operations that I did it in, but I do remember that the last movie I saw was Revenge of the Sith. And a lot of people hated the prequels. They did not like it whatsoever, especially Jar Jar. Poor Jar Jar right over there. A lot of people hated Jar Jar Binks, and they gave his actor a lot of crap about it. I mean, Jar Jar could have been a better character also, but hey, it is what it is. What's done is done. So
Sequels brought you back to meet your demise. I'd say you were brilliant, but I must not tell lies.
yeah, that was a bad ending to Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker died in The Last Jedi after he gave the Resistance time to leave, because he was still on the planet where he was hiding out on, but he used a force projection of himself to go. What was that planet's called? I can't remember. I know it started with a C. It was a giant salt planet. But he bought the rebels time, and it used a lot of power. And Luke finally peacefully passed away at that point in time. It was a bad end to him, though. I did not really enjoy that. I say you were brilliant, but I must not tell lies. That is a reference to the Order of the Phoenix, where where Harry was being punished. And his punishment was that he had to write, "I must not tell lies." And what it ended up doing was grafting what he was writing into his skin. That quill was enchanted to do that. And then later on, we see that happen again, but to the entire student body in Hogwarts. That is a terrible punishment, if you ask me.
I left JK straight rolling in cash.
As J.K. Rowling wrote the Harry Potter books, I do believe she's still writing the books, but straight rolling, as in royalties, is a author will get royalties from her book sales, or his or her book sales. And she got pretty rich off of the Harry Potter series from every single royalty she earned.
You let JJ compact your character to try.
I do not blame J.J. Abrams. He directed The Force Awakens, but it was actually Rian Johnson who directed The Last Jedi. And that movie was complete and total crap. I blame Rian more than I blame J.J. any day.
So go on, try and force more of your disses. You're like a stormtrooper, cause all your shit misses.
Isn't that fun? Always making fun of stormtroopers for their aim. I mean, the EE-3, the standard issue weapon in 4 stormtroopers, was actually a really accurate rifle. It's just that they couldn't even see. If you look at Star Wars Rebels, there is a episode where Kaden Jarrus and Captain Rex would go, can't remember where they were, but it was a Imperial craft or base, and they had to get Ezra Bridger, and Rex was in a stormtrooper armor, and Kaden got on him about his aim, and he said, "I can't even see out of this thing." He takes it off and hits every stormtrooper shot for shot. You'll see this all throughout Star Wars where there is a stormtrooper. They cannot hit anything. Mostly because they can't see out of their helmets. I have a shock trooper helmet over on my shelf right now. Even I can't see out of that thing. So I kind of feel the stormtrooper's pain on that one.
That's right, R2. It does sound like he left all his fire in the goblet.
Reference to the 4th book and 4th movie, The Goblet of Fire.
Maybe he will get rescued by an anorexic hobbit.
He's talking about Doppy. Doppy did die later on, but Doppy did save Luke quite a bit. Like, he tried to save him in the 2nd movie, which was Dobby's very first appearance in the Harry Potter series. And he tried to keep Luke to keep Harry from going to Hogwarts. He tried to get him in trouble to keep him at home because he knew something bad was going to happen to Harry at one point.
I think it's pretty clear that you and I are pretty different. My drive's hyper, your drive's privet.
So hyperdrive is a state of travel. Well, a lot of spaceships within Star Wars have a hyperdrive engine. And what the hyperdrive would do, it will make ships go faster than light to go from point A to point B. Even that will take a certain amount of time to get from one system to another or one planet to another. Or they have to put in the coordinates for the hyperdrive to take them. And it has to stop at a certain point in time, or else they would run into something. There is actually dangers to the hyperdrive, which there is another dimension that some people actually were able to get to. I can't remember how they got there. I'm going to have to look into that again because I know they got there somehow with the hyperdrive. And Privet Drive was actually the street where Harry grew up with his aunt and uncle and cousin.
I've got more rhymes than sand grains on Tatooine. You couldn't pull in the wind with a tractor beam.
More rhymes than sand grains on Tatooine. Tatooine is a desert planet, and you'll see grains of sand everywhere. So, basically, he's saying that he has more rhymes than all the sand on Tatooine combined. And couldn't pull a wind in with a tractor beam. A tractor beam, if I remember correctly, was used for cargo. But the Empire used it to pull ships into the docking bay of Star Destroyers, the Death Star, or just to capture them and immobilize them.
I crushed an empire, a galaxy large. I blew up the Death Star. You blew up Aunt Mars.
I believe Harry inflated his aunt at one point, if I remember right. But Harry did blow up the first Death Star. And the hole to actually blow up the Death Star was like 5 meters wide, which was a really small target, especially for somebody flying a ship that big.
I pop you where Poppy can't be healing you.
Poppy Pomfrey, I believe, was the nurse. And he said that he'll beat him up so bad that not even she would be able to heal him. Which is pretty ruthless.
Like a great disturbance in the Force, I'm not feeling you.
Jedi can feel disturbances in the Force. You'll actually hear it several times throughout the series where a Jedi would say, I feel a great disturbance in the Force, meaning something ain't right. And he's saying that I'm not feeling what you're doing here. So nothing seems to be working for Harry to him.
Death would eat you up without Hermione and luck, because your own skills, Wingardium Levio, suck.
So yeah, a lot of things that involved Harry relied on luck. And Hermione did save Harry a number of times. And Harry was lucky when she came along. And Wingardium Leviosa is actually the reference here. But there's a point where Harry would lift up Death Eaters, and once he said suck instead of sa, they just fall. He completely lost his concentration to it.
You're a dud like Dursley, but worse, and I'd rather hurt nerfs than have to endure your third birth.
I can't remember who Dursley was, but I do know what a nerf is. A nerf is an animal, I believe is originally from Alderaan, and a lot of people would herd them. I mean, one of Leia's famous phrases to Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back is her calling him a scruffy-looking nerf herder.
Have you heard rap before? That was not dope at all. Maybe have Goldie Balls show you the protocol.
So he's talking about C-3PO. He wasn't gold originally. He had several different appearances. It's in episode 1 when he appeared for I like to say the 4th time. He was just a frame and wires and hydraulics. That was it. And then episode 2 came along, he was silver. And then by the time 3 came along, he had the famous gold coloring that we all know him for. And then in the sequel trilogy, he ended up getting a red arm where he lost his original arm somewhere. I can't remember where he lost it from. Goldie Balls showed you the protocol. C-3PO is a protocol droid. He can translate things. He has a lot of duties that follow a certain way.
But I bet you're just distracted. You got a lot on your plate. On one hand, the rebellion. On the other hand, oh wait.
Because Luke got his hand cut off by Darth Vader in episode 5.
I roll deep and the Weasleys got my back.
This muggle sucks more hole than the bloody Sarlacc.
So Muggle, I do believe that is a wizard who was born into a non-magical family. I know Hermione Granger was a Muggle because her parents did not have the ability to use magic at all. Well, I do believe somewhere down the line there was one, and because that's my best interpretation of it. Down the line in her ancestry, someone was bound to be a wizard. And the bloody Sarlacc, the Sarlacc pit can be in a great number of places. I mean, one of the biggest Sarlacc pits there is actually on Felucia. And a lot of the natives of Felucia would live inside the Sarlacc pit on their homeworld. And the Great Pit of Carcoon is actually, I believe I said that right, was on Tatooine, in which Luke was going to be thrown into, but that did not work so well for Jabba and his henchmen.
We'll rough you up good if you try to step to Harry, mate. You're the least intimidating twin since Mary Kate.
Talk about Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. And they are twins. They've been out of the acting game for years. But yeah, they ended up getting dissed in this one.
Flow like butter beer on Diagon streets. You can find me getting fantastic on these beats.
So that is a reference to the spinoff Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And he is saying that you'll find me getting fantastic on these beats, as in a musical track. And butterbeer, that is a beverage that they have within the Harry Potter world. I never had it. I've never been into Universal Studios or wherever it is. I cannot remember. I do believe it's somewhere in Orlando or something like that. But I don't know. Never been to Florida. Never been to California.
It's over, Luke. I got the high ground advantage.
The high ground. One of the famous lines in Star Wars was by Obi-Wan Kenobi, where he faced off against Luke's father, saying, "It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground." But in all honesty, Obi-Wan is actually the expert of the low ground.
I'll close it like a map. Mischief managed.
Mischief managed is the way to close the Marauders map. Yep, and that's the Deathly Hollow symbol, from what I can remember. It's been a while since I saw Harry Potter, so I'm definitely going to have to rewatch the movies one of these days.
You should have Hagrid fly you home on his moped. If I wanted teenage wizardry, I'd call Selena Gomez.
So yeah, Hagrid would drive a moped around. Kind of an interesting choice of vehicle for him. But teenage wizardry, I'll call Selena Gomez. I believe that is an early 2000s show. I remember watching it when I was a kid. But Selena Gomez starred in a show called Wizards of Waverly Place. And it was on the Disney Channel. I believe it was had to be like mid-2000s. It's been a long time since I saw that, but that's been off the air for years.
My attack tactics are galactically hardcore, far more than your goofy little Star Wars.
That is a play on Star Wars, because Harry has a scar on his forehead. And Luke does have some interesting tactics, so to speak, but
I learned flow from the best in the biz.
Get funky.
So all of you that end this is
McClunky.
Yoda was the best Jedi there was, but even he made mistakes. I mean, he failed to see the Sith rising. And I can tell you that. Like, the Sith have been right underneath their noses. Mostly because their presence was shrouded because there was a Sith artifact at the base of the Jedi Temple. The Jedi Temple was built right on top of it. And the dark side power ended up clouding the Jedi in the temple, which made it a lot easier for the Sith to hide on Coruscant, right underneath their noses. What did he say?
flow from the best in the biz.
Get funky.
So all of you that end this is
McClunky.
So that is something that Greedo said right before he died. For some silly reason, he ended up saying McClunky. You can hear it plain as day. It just McClunky. So it was like really weird that a Rhodian would actually say something that almost sounds Scottish.
a Jedi mind trick. Put the nicks on your Imperious.
So a Jedi mind trick is something that a lot of Jedi could do. The mind trick influences people's minds, which is also very dangerous. It does not work on the strong-minded, but there was a case where Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Mace Windu combined their strength to try to use a Jedi mind trick on Cad Bane, but Cad Bane did resist that. It was hard for him to, but he did manage to resist it. And Imperious is similar to a mind trick. It influences minds.
They're up like death sticks on Bellatrix. Dead serious.
So Death Sticks is a drug. I believe it's a deadly drug. I can't remember. But we see Death Sticks mentioned in episode 2 where Obi-Wan and Anakin are searching for Zam Wessel, I believe her name was. She was a Claudite. I think she was a Claudite, a shapeshifter. And a guy at the bar said, would you like to buy some Death Sticks to Obi-Wan? And Obi-Wan used a mind trick to say, hey, rethink your life. This is not good for you. On Bellatrix Dead Serious, that is a really mean bar. Because Bellatrix, can't remember who she was, but she followed Voldemort and his Death Eaters. And the person she killed was Harry's godfather, Sirius Black, who was in Azkaban for quite a while, but then he came out in the third movie, The Prisoner of Azkaban. And Bellatrix ended up killing Sirius Black in the Order of the Phoenix. And that hurt Harry tremendously because Sirius was like one of the only family members that he had left. Even though they weren't directly related, Sirius Black did know Harry's parents and became Harry's godfather.
No need to Expelliarmus. You're harmless in a duel. Call me the Hogwarts Express. I just took you to school.
Expelliarmus is a disarming spell. Where if someone is about to attack you with another spell, Expelliarmus would take the wand right out of their hands. And it's Call Me the Hogwarts Express. I just took you to school. The Hogwarts Express is a train that would take students from the train station over to the school, and then it will take them from the school back to the train station. And no one could actually see the train because it's not on a platform that technically exists. It was 9 3/4, I believe the platform was. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know I'm going to get comments of a lot of Harry Potter stuff because I just know it. It's been quite a while since I saw Harry Potter. I mean, the first time I saw it was like a young kid when it was on VHS. I gave it to Luke. I mean, this was one of the hardest battles that I had to judge because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. There's a lot of Star Wars references that I caught versus listen, but it was like really hard for me to choose. I ended up listening and watching this like 10 times just to pick. This was a really, really good battle. And it's one of my favorites, especially the fact that it's Legos. They had to get some really good master builders to make sets like this. I mean, Lego animation, it is really fun to do. Ooh, I like watching people do stuff like this.
Holster! Soldier!
And so, yeah, that is a really good battle. I thought Luke won that one, and just by a narrow margin. And a lot of people thought differently from what I saw, but yeah, I gave it to Luke on this one. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. If there's a video that you want me to react to, leave it in the comment section or email me it at the email in the description. Till then, I am Glitch, and I'll catch you all next time.